My name is Sarah, and I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and I recently went to Istanbul, Turkey, to take advantage of some of their medical tourism. And I wanted to share a little bit about my experience because TikTok and Instagram is how I found out about all the things that are available in Turkey. I do want to start by saying that anytime I told someone that I was going to Turkey, they would make the worst faces, and they would talk about how unsafe it was and just, is it safe to go there? I had zero issues. I felt completely safe there. I walked on the street a lot by myself. I felt completely safe. At no point did I not feel safe. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend to anybody to go there. The first thing I really wanted to touch on was the VIP checkup at Memorial Hospital. This was really the biggest thing that I had done. It is a one-day checkup, and I'm going to go through all the things that are included with that. They also have a 3-day checkup, so I'll touch on that at the very end. So one-day checkup, I scheduled it through their website. I literally went to the website, filled out 30 seconds worth of information, and you communicate with them on WhatsApp. They're very quick. They are 8 hours ahead of us, so you do have to be a little strategic in your communication times. But I scheduled it all through WhatsApp. I did not have to pay a deposit, I don't think, ahead of time. And they ask you which hotel that you're at and what day you want to do it. And so they put you, or at least for me, they put me at the hospital that was closest to my hotel. They picked me up at about 8 a.m. in a Mercedes Sprinter van, and he was literally sitting out front of my hotel. And the WhatsApp person sent me a message and said, hey, your vehicle is waiting on you. Here is the license plate for you to look for. Go down, hop in, off to the hospital we go. We didn't pick up anybody else. It was literally just me. So he drops me off, and I had instructions of exactly where to go. I met someone there, and, you know, in the U.S., we fill out 20 pages of paperwork. I literally filled out my name, probably where I was from, and my email address. It was very little information, which they're probably not going to see me again, maybe my birthday, but it was one sheet, and it was literally half a piece of paper, triple spaced. And at that point, my interpreter came up and introduced herself, and every person that does the VIP checkup gets their own interpreter, regardless of what language they speak. I can't remember how many she said that they had on staff, but it was a lot. And everyone that goes through there that I guess probably doesn't speak fluent Turkish gets an interpreter. So at that point, she introduces herself and tells me a little bit about how the day is going to work. And then the first thing that we did was blood work. And so you do all of these things in one location. At the hospital that I was at, we went between 3 floors, and it was very easy to access, very quick. At some points, I kind of felt like I was jumping the line. I felt like people were looking at me like, why did you get to go first? But so the first thing you do is your blood work, and I don't know if you do your urine sample at that point. You do that at some point. So we did blood work, and then I did take a couple of things off of the overall checkup that I did not have done. You get 5 exams, and I'm going to post this at some point in this video. If everything that is included. Oh, I do want to say the price of this is $975 US, and that is due when you arrive, I think. To be honest, I don't remember when I paid for it. But I paid by credit card. There was no fee to use a credit card. And from my understanding, the price had just gone up on this. It had been the $800 range because there has been such an influx in Americans coming there. I do not know if other countries are different prices. I would for sure say the Turkish country is probably a different price, and I'm sure they have different things for them. But regardless, I paid at some point. It was $975. I did this around January the 10th. It was the second week in January for sure of 2025. So that price is probably relatively about the same still in February. So you get 5 exams. You get internal medicine, dental, ophthalmology, gynecology, and cardiology. And this is specifically for the women. They do have a separate one for men, and I didn't even look at that, obviously. But I opted not to do dental because I have dental trauma, thanks to my dentist back home. And then I opted not to do ophthalmology because I have really janky eyes, and I've been with the same eye doctor since I was in like elementary school, and he's wonderful, and I didn't want them to spend too much time talking about my janky eyes. So the other things that were included, we did a chest x-ray, we did bone density, which I have never had done. I didn't even know what that was. They did, it's called USG for you medical people. I'm sure you know what that means. From my understanding, that is basically an ultrasound of your body. So they did the breast and the whole abdomen. From what I understood, they could see everything on the inside of that area except for your spleen. And then digital mammography. And basically for each one of those, you went up and down different floors, and your interpreter would talk to her people and basically see like where you could get in at that point, like who had room for you, and they just kind of shuffled you around. I did not wait on anything up until probably about 1:30ish, and that was because whichever doctor I was seeing next was on their lunch break. They actually get lunch breaks there. Like, isn't that crazy? At some point, I did actually get a breakfast/lunch break as well. That was included in my price, and we had a preset menu that we could pick from. It was delicious. It was probably one of the best eggs omelets I have ever had. Funny story, I had a little bit of trouble communicating with my server because they want to give you tea. They're all about their tea there. And I was like, I don't want tea, but I would like a water and a Coca-Cola. And so he brings those, and I had my credit card laying on the table so I could pay for him. He was like, oh, no. I just thought that minute was included because I was trying to pay for it. So after it was over, like, I got up and left, and he came chasing for me because apparently I was supposed to go to a cash register and pay that, and I did not know that. We also did an EKG, and then, I'm not going to get this right, transthoracic echocardiography, maybe? And then we did a stress test. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, when we did all of the heart stuff, the heart doctor was actually the one doing it. It wasn't a tech, it wasn't a nurse, it was the actual heart doctor. He was the one that did all of the stuff. From, like, in my brain as a non-medical person, he was basically doing like an ultrasound of my heart. And so he actually figured out that I had a heart condition that I was born with. I'm going to tell you what it is. Google's going to play it.
Bicuspid.
Bicuspid. We're going to go with that. And so he asked me if anyone had ever told me I had a heart condition, and I said no. And he had me pull out my phone. He went to Safari, or he asked me to bring up Safari on my phone, and he Googled it, and he showed me a picture of what a normal heart looks like and what my heart looks like. And he said, I'm going to leave this here so that you can read more about this later. And I was just literally stunned by that. Because A, I would have never known how to spell this to be able to look it up later. And I just thought that was really impressive that he took the time to do that. And he told me that anytime I schedule a dentist appointment for like my cleaning or any dental work in general, that I need to ask for an antibiotic and be on that several days before my dental cleaning. And I just thought that was really impressive, and I really appreciated that he took the time to tell me that. And then once you kind of go through all of these, you, like with the blood work, once the blood work was done, then I went to see that doctor, and we talked about the blood work and what the levels were, what they should be, had I ever seen anyone for anything, like certain particular things. And then They also did 6 cancer marker blood tests, I think is essentially what that is. A, I didn't know that existed, and B, it's certainly not something that we're going to have here done normally. So I really appreciated that as well. And then, like, my iron was low, and so she was like, here, she wrote out exactly, like, what I needed to get, how many milligrams it needed to be, and she was like, you need to take it at this time during the day, and they just really went, like, I don't want to say above and beyond, but it was for sure above and beyond, and it was just that they had the time to sit there and talk to you and make sure that you felt comfortable with everything. Some of the physicians would speak in Turkish to the interpreter, and then she would interpret it to me. They could speak English, and they would ask you an occasional question in English, but it was just quicker and more efficient for them to just communicate in their native language. And then the heart doctor, he spoke fantastic English, so he communicated in English the whole time. And then I got all of the paperwork. I literally got an inch binder or folder of all of my paperwork. It had the EKG on there. It had a printout of all of the blood work. Literally anything and everything that I had done that day, it was printed out. And then there were parts of it that were in Turkish, just some of the, like, doctor notes. And so X days later, I did get about a 6-page document from my interpreter where she went back in and interpreted it to English so that I could understand it and I would have it for later. Overall, I would tell anybody going to Turkey that this is wonderful and you should absolutely do it. Honestly, if it were even double the price, I still think it's worth it. They do have a 3-day checkup as well, which I know that includes like a colonoscopy and quite a bit more stuff. And I was telling someone about that, and they were like, well, I don't know that I'd really want to go under anesthesia in another country. Every single medical office that we went in, top notch. Everyone there, nobody seemed tired. Nobody seemed grumpy. Everybody treated you with so much kindness, and like they really wanted to help you, and they were just excited that you were there. Like my interpreter said that she lives about 20 miles from the hospital, but it takes her 2 hours to get to work because the city is so big and there's so much traffic. And that she gets to work usually over an hour early because she never knows how traffic is going to be. And so they like literally drive 2 hours to work. Everybody there is dressed so nicely. Like the interpreters were in like dress pants and these really nice sweaters. They were all in matching attire. But I can't say enough good things about the checkup. If you are going to Turkey, whether it's for medical tourism or for vacation, I would absolutely recommend doing this. I just scheduled this probably about a week and a half before I went because I didn't even know that this was a thing. I might have done the 3-day thing if I'd known it was a thing ahead of time. I keep saying things. Sorry about that. Especially if you live in the U.S. and you have a really expensive health insurance or you don't have health insurance at all. I would say the 3-day one would be incredible. And they were like, here's what you need to do, and we will see you back in a year. They were like, you're good until then. And I was like, thanks. Honestly, I'll probably be back in a year. It was that good. But all of their equipment was top notch. Their team, their staff. I can't say enough good things about everything that I did at Memorial Hospital in Istanbul, Turkey. I hope that helps you figure out if you should do the checkup or not.